Hi everyone, here's the Book Chemist once again. Today I'm reviewing Eliza Clark's She's Always Hungry, an amazing, terrifying, utterly disturbing collection of very intriguing short stories. I didn't know anything about Eliza Clark herself or about this collection, and the reason I decided to read it, other than because I was very compelled by the color scheme of the cover, I am shallow like that, is that I saw the endorsement by Julia Armfield, one of my favorite contemporary authors. And having read the collection, I believe that both Armfield and Clark share something very interesting. They're both writers who are unashamed at writing short stories that exploit very well-worn, very old genre tropes, science fiction, horror tropes, but they use these tropes in ways that somehow paradoxically feel very relevant, very modern, and certainly very original. In the stories collected here, Clark takes a lot of staples of horror and science fiction, such as mad scientists, vampire overlords, alien parasites, and gives them a treatment that somehow spins them on their head, sometimes in very unexpected ways. Take, for instance, Extinction Event, one of the stories in the collection, where you have a mad scientist who develops a very close relationship with the alien plants that he's studying. But by the end of the story, he comes across as actually the only sane character in a world that's otherwise gone criminally insane. Most of these stories are definitely hard-hitting and shocking. The collection comes with a trigger warning for good reasons, I think. And a lot of this shock value comes from the explicitness of Clark's body horror. I am admittedly a fairly squeamish reader, but I found that many of these stories were making me rather queasy, so be warned. At the same time, I don't believe that these shocking elements are merely decorative or are added just for shock value for the sake of it. Rather, I believe that they're part of Clark's broader commitment to explore the darkest recesses of her character's psyche, their desires, their impulses, sometimes their self-harmful impulses and tendencies. Her unforgiving directedness when it comes to talking about pus and bodily fluids, about vomit and about flesh, really goes hand in hand with the broader fascination of horror fiction for the dark corners of existence. One of the highest function of fiction, if you ask me, is the fact that it offers us an environment where we can talk about and think about the unspeakable and the unthinkable, sometimes through the lens of the supernatural, stories of monsters, stories of curses, of the distant future. And I believe that Clark's stories definitely endorse this function and definitely treat it with the seriousness that it deserves. My favorite stories in the collection are Hollow Bones, a science fiction horror that a different writer would have probably spun into a 300-page novel, but that is presented here in all of its ominous implications in just a handful of pages, and the title story, She's Always Hungry, about a matriarchal fishing community threatened by certain voices from beneath the waves that are calling to the local men. Those of you who have watched a few of my videos will probably know that I am a huge H.P. Lovecraft fan. I have a strong fascination for stories of fish people, and She's Always Hungry is a beautiful, intense, feverish treatment of the same kernel that is at the heart of H.P. Lovecraft's The Shadow over Innsmouth, and is also at the heart, I think, of most siren legends and myths, really, our ambivalent horror and fascination for the sea. A place that is life-giving, a place of abundance, which is also destructive and predatorial, and that in these stories it becomes a metonymy, or is it a synecdoche, for anything in life that is desirable but ultimately evil, things such as power, wealth, greed, and so on. Shout out to The Shadow over Chitali, a gimmicky but rather effective short story written entirely in the form of internet reviews of a rather weird takeaway place that showcases Clark's originality, her flair with various writing styles, and her capacity for summoning unspeakable horrors through just a few strokes, just a few sinister references and innuendos. I definitely recommend She's Always Hungry. I thought it was a great collection of short stories. I think fans of horror especially and science fiction are going to find lots to appreciate in here. Give it a try, and I look forward to maybe exploring Clark's novels and definitely keeping an eye on what she's going to write in future. Thanks as always for watching the review. If you've read the collection or either of Clark's published novels, I look forward to hearing from you in the comments. Do you recommend either of their novels, Penance or Boy Parts? Very much look forward to hearing from you, and thanks again. Bye, everybody.